our China e-commerce webinar. It's 9 o'clock on the dot here in Boise, Idaho. I want to thank our friends who are presenting today that are in Shanghai because it's a very good late night to them. We appreciate them joining us at this crazy hour, but we're really excited for all of the fantastic content they're going to share today. I'd like to let you know that today's session is going to be recorded, and we'll be able to share copies of the recording and the slide decks. And just some real quick housekeeping, all of the attendees have been placed in mute and your cameras are off. But if you do have questions, please go to the bottom right hand of your screen and use the chat feature. The chat feature works a little better, we think, as opposed to using the Q&A. So at any time, if you have any questions, please put those in that chat box. And we're going to have lots of time at the end of the presentation for all sorts of question and answers. But put those in those boxes there, and we'll continue through the conversations. Just real quick, I want to introduce myself. My name is Tina Salisbury. I'm a Senior International Trade Specialist with the Idaho Department of Commerce. And then also on the call is Chelsea Conlon. She is my counterpart over at the State Department of Agriculture. And our two teams work very, very closely together. We put on lots of events jointly, just like this one, to help all of our Idaho companies that are exporting. Now to the real meat of it today, our exciting speakers that have joined us. First off is Tara Q. She is our Chief Representative of our Idaho China Trade Office located in Shanghai. And then we have Melissa Hill, who is the Commercial Service Officer with the U.S. Commercial Service based out of Shanghai. Mark Hansel, Deputy Director of Agriculture Trade Office at the U.S. Consul General in Shanghai. And then we have Jack Lee, Head of Business Development with Tmall Global, which is a B2C platform part of Alibaba Group. Want to take just a quick second just to kind of fill anybody in who's not aware of what services the state of Idaho offers out of Chelsea and I's offices at Commerce and Department of Agriculture. We help our Idaho companies with consultations and market research, inbound buying delegations that come to the state looking to buy our products, trade shows, with organizing overseas and domestic trade missions. We're working on a governor's trade mission as we speak that's going to be virtual this year. And all sorts of trainings, kind of just like this one. We've got a new to export training that's actually the second round is happening tomorrow. So all kinds of great options out of our offices. And then we partner with ISCA and Idaho Commerce to manage our 3 Idaho trade offices that are overseas. We have one in Mexico, one in Taiwan, that also serves Southeast Asia to Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. And then, of course, our China office, and we're going to hear more from Tara here in just a second. And then just to give you a few more specifics on the extra things that our trade offices offer, you can consider them your boots on the ground in their respective countries. They can help with scheduling overseas appointments. And these days, most of that's happening virtually. So we're working on a lot of virtual matchmaking sessions, and it's actually working out really well. So we encourage you to reach out to Chelsea and I, and we can get you in touch with our trade managers to set up those sorts of appointments. Our trade offices can help with importing, sourcing, marketing, logistics, regulatory information. They keep relationships with in-country government agencies to help make sure they're up on the latest and greatest regulations, and they'll conduct buyer pre-qualifications, due diligence. Just think of them as an extension of your team, and they're there to help you. Couple more quick things that our local offices manage, and the exciting part is it's money related. So the state trade expansion program, well, I got dyslexic in my editing of my own slide, and it's my own program. So I run the STEP grant program for the state of Idaho. This is a grant that we get from the Small Business Administration to help with export marketing initiatives, and companies need to be eligible under the SBA size qualifications, and that's always something I can help you figure out if you're eligible. But mostly today we want to specifically talk about a new program that we're launching under the STEP grant that's called the Idaho Online Global Program, and it fits perfectly into this webinar today because it is all about your online platforms, e-commerce, updating your website, translating into foreign languages, search engine optimization, localization. We actually have a webinar that's going to be coming up on December 2nd at 10 a.m. that will be all about this program. We're partnering with a service provider that has made a really great program that fits exactly underneath the STEP grant, or companies can also use their own service providers, but this webinar will give you a really good taste of what we're looking at because this is brand new to our program, and we're really, really excited, especially in current times. And in addition, so the applications for this grant, as well as our usual traditional financial assistance awards that can be used for trade missions, sales trips, trade shows, and services provided by our friends at the U.S. Commercial Service, those applications for both of those are going to be opening on December 2nd and closing at 3 p.m. on December 18th. So that's right around the corner. So again, I manage this program. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out directly to me and we can talk more about the specifics, but all of these details will be coming out later this week. We're really excited to share those with you. Over at the Department of Agriculture, they take part in WUSADA. So the Ag Department, along with 12 other Western states agriculture departments, are members and active project managers of the Western U.S. Agricultural Trade Association, and WUSADA is a nonprofit organization and has programs to promote international trade through programs such as inbounds and outbounds and virtual buyer matchmaking, trade shows, and other in-country promotional events. And it also coordinates the Fund Match grant, which is available to small, medium-sized businesses for international projects and activities. So if you have some more questions on those programs, you can certainly reach out to Chelsea and she can get you that information. And then now I would really like to pass off this presentation and get rolling with the meat of it all and let you meet Tara Q. She is our China Office Chief Representative. And I'm going to stop sharing so we can see Tara's shining face real quick. Go ahead and start talking, Tara, and then you'll pop up on everybody's screen.
Okay. Thank you, Tina. Thank you, everyone. I'm based in Shanghai, where the state of Idaho China office is. We are here to provide services to all of the Idaho companies. Tina has already mentioned all the services we provide. It's almost everything you would need to enter the China market. Many of you have probably heard from me many times that the world's biggest e-commerce market is in China. However, how can we participate? What can Idaho companies sell to China? And how to sell our products to Chinese consumers online? That is why we invite you to join today's webinar. And I work closely with all of the three speakers. If you would need any help after the webinar, please let me know. You can contact me at any time. Now, let's welcome Melissa Hill, the Commercial Officer of the U.S. Consul General in Shanghai.
Melissa, you're muted.
Okay. Thank you so much, Tara. I should have my slides up there now. It's wonderful to be here this morning. As Tara mentioned, I'm Melissa Hill. I'm the Foreign Commercial Service Officer in Shanghai. I handle the e-commerce, consumer goods, beauty, natural health, fashion, and fine jewelry portfolios. Prior to joining the Shanghai office, I was most recently a trade specialist in the U.S. Commercial Services New York City Export Assistance Center. So today, I would love to introduce you to the U.S. Commercial Service and tell you how we can help your company enter and succeed in China through e-commerce, as well as markets across the world. So the U.S. Commercial Service, for those of you who don't know about us, is the U.S. government's lead trade promotion agency. I'm having a bit of a problem moving my slide forward. Sorry, technical difficulties. So Tina, let's see if this works. There we go. All right, sorry about that, everyone. Technology. Okay. So through our network of more than 100 U.S. export assistance centers around the United States, our staff in the commercial sections in the U.S. embassies and consulates in more than 70 countries, we work to help U.S. exporters identify partners, overcome trade barriers, and win deals in global markets. Okay, and this actually is a map of our offices across China. So we have a large footprint in China. We have 5 offices across the mainland in Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, Shenyang, Wuhan, and 1 office in Hong Kong. We also support 14 of China's second-tier cities. Okay, so now I want to delve into the specifics on how we can assist your company with entering China, as well as help you enter other markets across the globe. So generally, we can help your organization identify trade opportunities and local partners within China, as well as provide market intelligence across all sectors. I've included a quadrant on this slide that includes the 4 areas where we can assist you: trade counseling, business matchmaking, market intelligence, and commercial diplomacy. So with respect to trade counseling, we can help you to develop a market entry strategy and sales strategy for China, understand export documentation requirements and China's import regulations, and navigate U.S. government export controls, compliance, and understand trade financing options. So under our market intelligence area, that's where we can help you analyze market potential, look at foreign competitors and cities within China that have the best sales prospects. We can also provide information on financing laws and cultural issues in China, as well as conduct background checks on potential Chinese buyers and distributors that you might be interested in working with. So the business matchmaking area, this is where we can help connect you with pre-screened potential buyers through our flagship Gold Key service. That's really what we're most well known for. We can help you to promote your product or service to targeted buyers at trade events, on Chinese language websites. We can also arrange meetings with industry and government decision makers for you in China. However, given the current difficulties that U.S. companies face in traveling to China, we are presently working on developing a suite of virtual services so we can continue to seamlessly meet U.S. companies' needs despite the current travel restrictions. So potentially matching and meeting with buyers virtually, attending virtual trade shows, all of that. Finally, in the area of commercial diplomacy, we can help you to overcome trade barriers you encounter when entering China, coordinate U.S. government engagement with Chinese government entities to protect U.S. business interests, and assist you with U.S. government trade advocacy for your foreign procurement bids. All right. So the next slide I have up here, I would like to focus on protecting your intellectual property. And I included this slide very near the top of my presentation because I hope that you will also keep this topic in the forefront of your mind as you think about selling into China. Some of the bullets I have included here are some of the topics related to protecting your IP that you need to keep in mind when you're looking to enter China. So one thing you want to do is you want to file your trademarks early to avoid squatters, qualify you to do business in China, and also arm you with rights to go after infringers and counterfeiters. So China grants priority rights to whoever files first, regardless of use. So you need to keep in mind that China has a first to file, not a first to use intellectual property legal system. You should file defensive applications covering all possible clauses of your goods and services, so broadly. You want to file a Chinese version of your mark and consider extending U.S. application and registration into China via the Madrid Protocol. So you need to remember that U.S. and Chinese IP legal systems are different. So registration of rights in the U.S. doesn't automatically confer rights in China. It's important to create a basket full of IP rights, including trademark, copyright, trade secrets, and patents if your product is an inventive product. IP rights can overlap. It's good to have a multi-layered IP portfolio to provide more synergistic protection. Hire competent local IP counsel in China, and remember, the key question, unfortunately, to consider when you enter China is not if your IP protection will be infringed, but when and how. Last, I want to put in a plug on my next slide to take advantage of our U.S. government resources. So actually what we have across the globe, and particularly in China, we have a good amount of their IP attaches. So this U.S. Patent and Trademark offices, they have these IP attaches posted across the globe. China is no exception. We have several of them in various cities, Beijing, Guangzhou, to cover the entire country. And essentially what these IP attaches do is they're working to help you. They're located in our U.S. embassies and consulates, just like we are, and they basically are promoting IP protection and enforcement, advocating to improve IP policies and laws for U.S. companies, and also can help you as a U.S. company when you're entering China to navigate foreign laws and regulations, understand how the foreign courts work, and protect and enforce IP abroad. So if you are interested in speaking with one of these IP attaches as you're looking to enter China, please feel free to reach out to me. I would be more than happy to introduce you to an IP attache and organize a phone call with you. All right, so now I would like to turn your attention back to why you all tuned into our webinar today, to learn more about opportunities in China's e-commerce market. So as Tina mentioned earlier, so China is the world's largest e-commerce market, with more than 50% of global e-commerce transactions coming from China. In 2019, China's online retail transactions reached 1.9 trillion and are forecasted to reach almost 4 trillion by the end of 2023. So there's a lot of opportunity for U.S. companies in China, even now, especially now, to enter through e-commerce. So actually by this year, China's e-commerce market is predicted to be larger than that of the U.S., the UK, Japan, Germany, and France combined. So a lot of opportunity there. All right. So we wanted to take a look now at the e-commerce space in China. So it is dominated by domestic platforms, namely Alibaba, which consists of Taobao and Tmall global websites. And you will be hearing from Tmall Global shortly on this webinar today. They have a market share of 55.9% in China. JD.com has a market share of 16.7%. There's also other markets, Pinduoduo, or other websites. This is a new model of social media e-commerce firm that leverages group purchasing. And that's recently overtaken many competitors in the past 3 years to become the third largest platform. Then, as you see, I've listed various other smaller platforms, and those comprise the remaining market share. Okay, I want to say a word on cross-border e-commerce. So U.S. companies that are looking to sell products in China can either sell products on China's e-commerce, or who want to sell on China's e-commerce platforms, they can either choose to establish a presence in China or can use cross-border e-commerce to sell products directly from abroad. And you'll hear more about the specifics on how to sell through cross-border e-commerce from Tmall Global today shortly. Cross-border e-commerce has experienced significant growth and has reached $157.7 billion this year. And it is estimated that transactions could reach $199 billion by 2022. So it's a big opportunity there, huge market in China. Okay. Also, the number of cross-border e-commerce customers has grown exponentially and is estimated to reach $291.8 billion this year. So in terms of the top-selling categories, beauty and mom and baby products are definitely hot top-selling categories across the cross-border e-commerce channel. Also, some categories that have been growing in popularity recently are consumer electronics and pet supplies. Okay, and just a word on China's biggest shopping holiday, which I'm sure Tmall will probably mention. I think it's very relevant as this was just about a week ago. So I'm not sure how many of you have heard of Singles Day, otherwise known as 11/11 in China. This is a very important shopping holiday in China. So it's celebrated on November 11th every year. It is a Chinese commercial holiday that helps single people to show their pride in being single. And it started as a tribute to being single in 1993. Solo students at China's Nanjing University chose November 11th because it looks like a group of sticks to celebrate rather than lament being partnerless. And it quickly grew into like a fun official holiday in which single people across China will treat themselves to nice dinners, splurge on goods they wouldn't otherwise buy. This is a 24-hour shopping event in China, and it sees huge discounts across millions of products on e-commerce platforms like Alibaba and JD.com. In fact, it generates more sales than Black Friday and Cyber Monday in the United States combined. So a lot of buying happening on that day. This year, though, I believe retailers like JD.com and Alibaba actually extended the shopping holiday, and it ran from November 1st to midnight on November 12th. And this year, I believe, I've read that Alibaba and JD.com racked up about $115 billion in sales for the 11/11 shopping event. So continuing to set records every year. So that's something that a U.S. company will definitely want to take advantage of this holiday. So, okay, how can we, the U.S. Commercial Service, help you, your company, to enter China through e-commerce? So some of the things we can do to help you. We can help develop a strategy for entry and make connections with China's major cross-border e-commerce platforms like Alibaba, Tmall, Global, JD.com, and other platforms. We also, our specialists in China actually have connections with most of the major cross-border e-platforms in China, and we can provide you with introductions. All right. And then I just wanted to share a quick success story, an example actually of a U.S. Mom and baby skincare company based in New Hampshire. You may have heard of this company. They sell the very well-known Badger Balm product, which is you may have seen in your local drugstore. So for Badger, we provided extensive counseling on China's cosmetics regulatory compliance, educated them on the e-commerce landscape, and connected them with potential distributors in large cross-border e-commerce platforms. So as a result, last June, the company reported that they had secured an exclusive distributorship in China, and the company is working to open a flagship store. So what the company actually said of our support was a quote from the owner that I've listed here. This is a great time for us to have a new partner. While domestic sales are fluctuating drastically due to the coronavirus pandemic, having access to the Chinese e-commerce market will mean an additional $100,000 to $250,000 in revenue this year. and 500,000 plus in subsequent years. This will help us sell through inventory that was produced before our pandemic drop in sales, and will also give job security to our production and fulfillment teams when we work to fill new orders. So here is my contact, along with my colleague Janet Lee, who works with me to help U.S. companies enter and counsel U.S. companies on entering e-commerce through China. We would love to hear from you. Please feel free to reach out to Janet and I. We'll be happy to set up a phone call with you or answer any of your questions about entering China through e-commerce. So thank you so much. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now.
Thank you so much, Melissa. That was a lot of really great information. I also want to share with everybody on the call as well that the local Boise office of the U.S. Commercial Service, headed up by Amy Bintrin, and her new counterpart, Jay Park, they're both on the call. And they're actually co-located right in the same office as Idaho Commerce. So we work super closely all together, all of us, one big team. So if anybody needs help navigating on who to talk to, you can reach out to any of us and we will get you hooked up with who you need to speak with. Next up, we have Mark Hansel of the Agricultural Trade Office in Shanghai. Hi, Mark.
Hi, good morning to all of you in the Gem State. I am delighted to be with you. My colleague Melissa covered a lot of great stuff. She usually works just a few floors up from me, and so we work very closely with the Foreign Commercial Service. What Melissa did not mention is that, like me, she has some Idaho credentials. Hers don't run quite as deep as mine, but I spent a little time in Madison County. And I am from Cassia County and a graduate of Declo High School, and let's see, a descendant of two generations of Vandals, but also have a brother with a master's from Boise State. So pretty solid. And I am legally still in Idaho, and I vote there. And so I'm just thrilled to be here. It's just a great opportunity to be in China right now, and I love all the ways that what I get to do here connect back to the homeland, and the way that I'm able to do some things that I hope benefit some of my friends and neighbors from long ago, as well as people around the rest of the country. Now, China is just really exciting at this time. I will tell you that I've lived about 7 years total in Japan, and it's been to China. So I'm sure Chelsea and I could talk Japan all day, but I'd been to China in 1994 a couple of times. And then I didn't set foot in China again until I arrived a little bit more than a year ago. And I will say that the China that I saw when I came back to China a little more than a year ago reminded me much more of my time in Japan than it ever did of my previous visits to China, because of just how rapidly it had developed, about how everything about it, from the moment I got in the car and was coming in from the airport, and you looked around at housing, you looked around at retail, it screams rapidly expanding middle class. And you go all over China, you see that. So you see a society with so much economic growth, so many people with so much more disposable income, and there are just enormous opportunities for U.S. exporters who have the right products that are appealing to them, and if you don't sell those through all the right channels right now, you're going to miss a lot of opportunity. And right now, there are just so many things in China that have shifted to e-commerce. They are so far ahead of us in so many ways. I ride my bicycle all over Shanghai. And one thing I love about this city is that number one, it's totally flat. And so it's easy to ride a bicycle, but also they have a lot of bike lanes. The bike lanes are shared by bicycles and by electric scooters. They're allowed in the bike lanes. I sometimes am going to get killed by them. But those electric scooters are the last mile of the Chinese economy in so many ways, and especially e-commerce, because so many of those are packed with small parcels, grocery deliveries, any number of things. And you order it, they bring it to you. It's amazing how fast. Our previous consul general, Sean Stein, a Blaine County native, by the way, Sean Stein used to tell a story about how he had a governor of some state on a trade mission visiting Shanghai and was a guest in his home over at the consul general's residence. And jet lag had hit this governor, and he was absolutely dragging, but he still needed to do more things that day. And he mentioned to Consul General Stein, I really wish I had some particular brand of energy drink, but as far as I'm aware, it doesn't even exist in China. It's my usual go-to pick-me-up if I need something. So C.G. Stein thought it would be a good opportunity to demonstrate the power of e-commerce in China. He pulled out his phone, punched a couple of things on it for, maybe half a minute, and within 20 minutes, the doorbell rang, and there was a man wearing a motorcycle helmet, handing a bag with, dripping condensation on the outside, and it was 2 cans of the energy drink that this governor wanted. That was within 20 minutes. Now, that's not uncommon in China at all. The power of e-commerce here is just absolutely stunning. I sometimes go to the grocery store just because I like the experience still, but that is shifting so rapidly that so many people don't even do that. You order your groceries, they bring them to you. And it's all done so efficiently and so quickly. So Melissa covered a lot of things that apply equally to agricultural products. And she did a fabulous job of it. And I would say, especially with intellectual property protections, you want to be careful about that, especially if the particular product that you want to export is anything to do with consumer packaged goods, gourmet goods, packaged foods, anything that's got a retail bent to it, and anything where there's any branding involved, so less so with commodities. But you do want to make sure that those things are protected. The cross-border e-commerce channel is fabulous because it makes the end user or the consumer the importer of record, and sometimes there are advantages in terms of the tariffs when you're doing it that way. So it's a great incremental way to enter the market, but be very careful, because if you're doing cross-border e-commerce and in so doing you are making various parties in China aware of your brand, the value of the brand, the growing popularity of your brand, then you are simultaneously exposing yourself to potential intellectual property violations. So I think that those are all really important things to keep in mind. Let me just tell you a little bit. I'll show you a few slides to show you a little bit about how our organization is set up. It's kind of ironic. In my office, I have my mother, who's still in Burley, and her husband sent me these lovely little model John Deere tractor and Case combine, and I think that's a great thing for an ag attaché to have on his desk. Ironically, though, if you wanted to export either of those two to China, it would be Melissa and the Foreign Commercial Service who help you with farm equipment, because you can't eat the tractor. But we work on all things. We cover all food products. We cover wood if it is not processed to the point of having become furniture or some finished product. We cover cotton. We do cover pet food, and I know that we've got some pet food people on this webinar, and there is nothing with more explosive growth potential right now in China within our entire portfolio at USDA than pet food. It's just growing like crazy. Everybody has dogs and cats. So a lot of things. Let me just show you a little bit how we're organized here. Let me share if this will come up. No, that's not the one I wanted to do. Not my screen. Hold on. There we go. Okay. Sharing. Okay, hold on. I want to share. How did we do this before? File. There it is. Okay, hold on. Incidentally, my sister just messaged me to tell me that she has some particular friend who's watching me on a webinar right now. So So there's your small world credentials. All right, there we are. Okay, Agricultural Trade Office in Shanghai. And I just have a few slides to go through on this, but I certainly will welcome any of your questions. So the United States Department of Agriculture, very large department. We are organized into a number of different divisions, and within one of those you'll see TFAA. That is stands for Trade and Foreign Agricultural Affairs. That is a newly created position as far as having an undersecretary. We just a few years ago got our first undersecretary for Trade and Foreign Agricultural Affairs, and that is Undersecretary Ted McKinney. And so he focuses on nothing but trade. And he's former Indiana head of Indiana's Agriculture Department, and as such is a good friend of Celia Gould's there in Idaho. But then he oversees our agency, the Foreign Agricultural Service. And the Foreign Agricultural Service is one of the foreign trade agencies, like the Foreign Commercial Service at the Commerce Department. And we just kind of divide the world in terms of the kinds of products, but we cooperate very closely with them on a lot of things. So within the Foreign Agricultural Service, under the Trade and Foreign Agricultural Affairs, you will see that we have, in most countries, we have an Office of Agricultural Affairs, OAA. So if we have an office at the embassy, if we only have one office in a country, that's probably what it's going to be called, because that indicates that those offices are focused on trade policy, market access, maybe some of our capacity building and development programs, but they are kind of an overall office representing U.S. agriculture in that country, which sometimes is not just trade promotion. But where we have an agricultural trade office, then that is a little bit more of a narrow focus, a little bit more on specifically on trade promotion. And so that's what we do. That's what we have here in Shanghai is the Agricultural Trade Office. But within China, we have a collection of those. So in Beijing, we have an Office of Agricultural Affairs, and we also have an Agricultural Trade Office. Then we also have ATOs in Guangzhou, Shanghai, and Shenyang. We did have one in Chengdu, but as you may have heard, we don't have a consulate in Chengdu anymore. But we are making sure that those parts of China are covered too. And then in addition, the Animal Plant Health Inspection Service has officers in Beijing, and more recently, the Food Safety Inspection Service does too. So we're covering a lot of things with agriculture, and 17 American officers in China right now. And then LES, that stands for Locally Engaged Staff. And those are the Chinese citizens, the locals, typically Chinese citizens, locals we hire. They represent the real repository of knowledge about the local market. I know that in our office we have a couple of specialists. We have one with more than 20 years, another one with 16 years of experience. They develop a real in-depth knowledge of the local market, and they're able to build relationships and continuity that those of us who are American officers, and we rotate in, we rotate out, will be there maybe 3 or 4 years. But that real in-depth kind of specialized knowledge, they're able to develop that, and it's a wonderful thing. Then let's see. Just a little bit about what we do in the Foreign Agricultural Service, trade promotion. So we are, we do everything we can to implement trade supporting initiatives, and we do everything we can to once a trade agreement is reached, then how do we take advantage of that? How do we make sure that we're finding every opportunity that we can within that. A lot of you, I'm sure, know that on January 15th of this year, we signed the Phase 1 trade agreement with China, and it was a big step in the right direction, we hope, toward rebalancing trade with China and agricultural trade. According to that agreement, agricultural trade, which went as low as $14 billion after a few better years, but at the height of the trade tensions at the end of 2019, we're around $14 billion. China committed to purchasing $40 billion in 2020 and 2021. It doesn't look like they're going to get there for 2020. It would take an amazing 6 weeks or 5.5. But But at the same time, we've still grown by leaps and bounds over previous years. We have to acknowledge that the COVID-19 pandemic had a detrimental effect. Similar to what Melissa said, we can't bring Americans in for trade shows, which is why we're improvising with a lot of things like this, virtual events. But we're doing everything we can to take advantage of that willingness of China on China's part to engage, and willingness on their part to give us tariff exclusions on a lot of the retaliatory tariffs. Those tariffs are still in place, but there are tariff exclusions that allow us to sort of bypass that for the time being. So there are a lot of different ways in which agricultural trade is really a bright spot right now in the bilateral relationship. Xi Jinping has been known to say that our trade relationships overall is the ballast in the bilateral China-U.S. relationship. It's what allows us to, it is one of the bright spots. I'm going to wrap up with that, but again, I would tell you that everything that Melissa said applies very much to agricultural products as well, particularly if it's anything branded. But I'm happy to take your questions. But more importantly, I'm happy to hand it off to the people who are really on the ground doing e-commerce. That's what you're going to hear next, and I'll happily yield my time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mark. That was really fantastic. And if anybody is looking to get a hold of Mark, other than going directly towards him, that's where Chelsea at our Idaho State Department of Agriculture and the team that she's on can help you out there. Obviously, Tara is also very, very close to Mark and can get you having conversations with him. I just wanted to take a second and kind of jump off of something that Mark mentioned about, that Americans aren't able to travel over to China right now and do trade shows. But that is one service that Tara is really trying to help out with, and actually all of our trade office managers, that they're representing our Idaho companies physically in person, because they are able to go to the trade shows because they are happening, and they're representing our Idaho companies for them, or working together. If you already have China representation over in country, then that's where Tara can help with those people. So we are still eyeballing some trade shows and trying to figure out where we have some opportunities, but so keep those things in mind. Just think we're all thinking creatively these days, and we're always looking for other suggestions and ways that an Idaho company, tell us how you need help, and we'll try to figure out how we can do that. So just a tidbit there, but I want to throw this over to Jack Lee with Tmall Global. Thank you, Jack.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming. And I'm here on behalf of Tmall and Alibaba Group to give us an overview of China cross-border e-commerce. Once again, my name is Jack Lee. I'm responsible for the pets category, as well as food, home, and baby and maternity categories, business development in the U.S. The agenda for today, we're going to do a little quick rundown of Alibaba and Tmall Global in general, of who we are. And then we're going to dive into retail trends in China and get to know a little bit about our consumers and how to target them. And finally, we're going to close with what can Tmall Global offer to you as business solutions and how to get started with us. So I'd like to start with Alibaba's mission statement, which is to make it easy to do business anywhere. And so far, we're doing that. You could tell by various types of business sectors that Alibaba Group is now involved in, starting with the core commerce, moving on to logistics with Cainiao, financial services with Ant Financials, and then you have the digital media with Youku, and chatting software communication with DingTalk. For the purpose of today, we're going to focus on that purple box in the middle, which is Tmall Global. So what is Tmall Global? Tmall Global is the largest B2C cross-border e-commerce platform in China. Right now, we have over 26,000 international brands across 84 countries and regions, and spanning 5,300 plus categories. We offer a gateway for international brands to try out the China market and also various business solutions for the ease of entry into the market. So one of the most common questions that we get is, how is Tmall Global different from Tmall? Well, the short answer is Tmall is catered towards brands or business that's already established in China. So for example, like a Procter & Gamble and other brands that's already established, P&G actually has a corporate headquarters based out of Guangzhou, China. So they would not use our services, but rather use Tmall instead. Tmall Global is actually a service that can help brands enter the Chinese market through cross-border e-commerce. And this is an easier gateway to actually get your feet wet because you don't need a legal entity in China. And your trademark can be registered in the home country. And as long as your products are cross-border on the CBEC positive, then you can enter it. So that's especially important for beauty and cosmetics products because there's no animal testing, and you do not have to disclose all the classified materials that goes into the ingredients. So now we're going to look at some retail trends that we're seeing in China in 2020. We're going to start with some numbers and statistics. In terms of global e-commerce market, China is the leader right now at $2.1 trillion US dollars. China also has a huge population online. We're looking at roughly 900 million people online, with 99% being mobile users. And also 66% of that are towards the younger audience with age 39 or under. The current Chinese e-commerce market is about 44% of total retail, and which is roughly 3 times the size of the U.S. e-commerce market right now. And we do see a potential of that number to increase even more, mainly because China has more than 100 cities with over 1 million people residing in, and the middle class population is poised to grow from 400 million to 600 million. So one distinctive factor for retail in China is compared to the U.S. is that retail is a form of entertainment in China, whereas here, when me or my wife typically shop for something online, we go to Amazon, we search for something, and then we look at the pricing, and then we buy it. Retail in China is very, very different in a way where people are actually spending a lot of time shopping online on these shopping platforms. So sharing and recommendations is very important. That's what people look at. They explore the goods in terms of selection, assortment. They watch short videos on the product display page. And of course, live streaming by celebrities and influencers have a significant factor in pushing sales. We're going to get into some of these in later slides. So who are our customers? Our customers are mostly younger in terms of demographics, and they're mostly females. 57% of them are Gen Z, and with 60% of new active consumers coming from the tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities, as opposed to the mega cities, mega tier 1 cities. They're usually family with kids, 3-generation families with the grandparents living in with them as well, office ladies, and as well as university students. Females in general spends a lot more and adds a lot more items per basket than their male counterpart because they shop for themselves, their families, as well as their spouse. Now we're going to get into a little bit of category trends, starting with beauty, which is the biggest category on Tmall Global right now. Skincare actually dominates, followed by color cosmetics, and we also have some fragrance and new ingredients trends in CBD and hemp seed oil. In terms of health and food, supplement and OTC are the heavy hitters, specific to needs such as beauty and sleep. Same thing with the food area, where functional food and beverages are trending right now in China. And based on our consumer profile, mom and baby is also important for us. Right now, women in maternity, fashion, color cosmetics, and toiletries, that's trending in the maternity category. In terms of baby, we're looking at skincare, supplements, and fashion for baby as well. And fashion, we're looking at bags and shoes, followed by sportswear. And then in terms of home and 3C, which is the electronics, we're looking at beauty gadgets and some small home appliances, such as bakeware, cups, and electronics. The others category consists primarily of the pets, which is trending right now, especially given the pandemics. People are adopting more pets, and the pet supplements, food, and functional snacks are going up in China. So how do Chinese consumers make a decision to buy? They turn to Chinese social media. So these are some of these screenshots from a social media platform called Xiaohongshu, which directly translates into Little Red Book. So this is a platform where people can post products that they're using, why it's good, and actually recommend certain products. And I believe they also have a mechanism where you could actually check out directly via Xiaohongshu, because they do e-commerce as well. In terms of fan engagement, that's a big thing for us as well. This is Weitao. As you can see, part of the screenshots actually showcase 3 different storefronts where there's a temperature gauge that measures the fan engagement in terms of how many times you shared this. And of course, there's incentives for sharing. There's coupons or gift certificates that was giving out for things like this. And lastly, influencers are huge in China. You may not recognize everybody here, but Kim Kardashian is the second picture to the left. And people actually trust what the celebrities and influencers are using. So this is a great mechanism to push your products. In a typical chat room, depending on the, the following of the celebrity or influencer, it wouldn't shock any of us to see more than 1 million consumer engaged in that live streaming room at any given time. Now, we're going to talk about Double 11, which is the biggest shopping holiday in China. And this year is no different. So we're setting new records every year. And this year we saw 93% year-on-year growth of $74.1 billion of GMV, with 31,766 participating foreign brands. And of that amount, 5.4 billion of GMV is coming from U.S. brands alone, which is the biggest region outside of China. So now we're going to talk about what can we offer to you in terms of business solutions. There are four ways in which we can offer business solutions to you guys. So we're going to start with Marketplace, which is the typical flagship store model, which is just one type of a store you can open using the Marketplace functionality. It is brand focused, and the brand actually can own the brand image in terms of what type of internal and external marketing they want to do. And this has higher customer trust because usually only brands themselves or sole distributors can open up flagship stores. In terms of overseas fulfillment, it's a consignment model as well. This is a lot more flexible than a flagship model in a way where you can have the goods located in your own warehouse or inside of one of our global fulfillments locally. In the U.S., we have warehouses in both LA and New York. You could even API integrate your inventory feed to us so that you could essentially have a breadth of assortment to try out on our platform. And the direct import model is the typical wholesale model where we buy goods from you and then goods are imported into China and shipped into the bonded warehouse. As consumers place orders, they get shipped to the customers. Web to web is more of a broad assortment support. We do support API integration, and this is something like StockX or who sells shoes. If they want to partner with us, we linked up our API feed so we can actually sell all of their inventory directly on Tmall as well to the consumers in China. So now we're going to dive in a little bit into the marketplace model where, so what is a flagship store on Tmall Global? So flagship stores are actually brand operated online storefront where you can actually cater to your brand's liking and how your brand wants to be perceived to the customers. Usually you need to partner with the TP, which stands for Trade Partner, who helps you with daily store operations. They're usually based in China. They have dedicated knowledge in incubating brands and how to make things successful. They know how to build brands and recommend branding strategies to you as well. In terms of logistics solutions, the inventory can be stored into a bonded warehouse or inside a global fulfillment center. The TP can actually help with distributing the products as well by taking out inventory. It just depends on what you need. You can, I guess, pick and choose which TP and which service that they offer. So we see the flagship store as a partnership, beginning with you guys who set the strategy for the brand and also the marketing budget and working with other stakeholders to get your brand exposed and popularized to Chinese consumers. We here at the Tmall Global, we help you with IT and payment infrastructure. We have all sorts of data for you to dig into in terms of how your store is performing and what the micro as well as macro categorical trends are for your categories. And in terms of the third-party TP, this is someone you work with on the side that Tmall does not get involved with. They could either just act as an operating agency to operate your store, or a distributor who takes on the inventory as well. And lastly, Cainiao Logistics facilitates the cross-border logistics for the transactions to happen. And they also have all sorts of data in terms of logistic and analytical tools at your disposal as well. Now we're going to talk about the second mechanism that we offer, which is called overseas fulfillment. This is a very low investment opportunity to get your feet wet. As I mentioned earlier, you can use the overseas warehouse for direct fulfillment into the hands of the Chinese consumers. As a consignment model, you don't necessarily need to store your inventory inside the global fulfillment centers. If you don't want to, you can also have it within your own warehouse. And what we do is we set up the API as the orders are dropped. Your orders will then be shipped into one of these global fulfillment centers and then to be delivered into the hands of our customers. Right now, direct shipping is available from the U.S., from both Los Angeles and New York. We also have fulfillment centers in Germany, France, Netherlands, Korea, and Japan. So the overall key value proposition for the overseas fulfillment is that it's a simple process. It's a low investment cost. It's very flexible, and our warehousing is super efficient. There's some other benefits as well, such as easy returns and exchanges of inventory. Because the inventory is located in the home country, sometimes it gets a little bit more complicated. The inventory gets into a bonded warehouse. To get the inventory back takes a bit of time and a lot of paperwork as well. There's also flexible settlement in terms of how you want your money and when do you want your money. We offer weekly or monthly, and it's the home country's currency. You get access to 100% of a customer base, and there are certain SKUs that's not eligible for cross-border commerce. You could sell it via direct mail as well. So these are just some of the key benefits of doing overseas fulfillment. Now, lastly, how do we get started with Tmall Global? Well, to make things easy, we launched this website called Merchant Channel. It's merchant.tmall.hk. It offers all sorts of resources for brands and trade partners alike online to actually to learn more about the opportunities of cross-border. And there's all our business solutions are listed out there. And you could register and submit a brand application and to get started with onboarding. This website is multi-language, so you could toggle on the top right corner to select the language of choice, whether it's Chinese, English, French, whatnot. There's different case studies and webinars, knowledge centers for you to access to. So it's overall a very, very one-stop shop for you to learn more about how to work with us. Cost is a common question that people ask us. So the cost differs by the store types as well as the categories you're in. For the purpose of this presentation, I just put out there the typical cost for a Tmall Global flagship store. It's actually bucketed by different buckets. The buckets won't change, but the percentage or the fixed fee will change a little bit depending on what category you're in. So first, we have the security deposit, which is a one-time fee of 50 to 300K RMB. This is used as collateral. So as with any security deposit, you do get it back once the relationship terminates with Tmall Global. In terms of annual fee, depending on the category, we're looking at 30 to 60K RMB. We also charge a commission depending on the categories of 0.5% to 5% with the fixed 1% for Alipay. In terms of TP partner fees, we don't get involved in the, negotiation and discussion of the fees. This is something that you need to work on with them on the side. They typically charge a fixed fee and a commission as well. And logistics, it just depends on what type of logistics you choose. It could vary greatly. In terms of the least costly to the most costly, bonded warehouse, because of consolidated shipping and transfer of goods into the bonded warehouse, is the least costly method, and actually the most customer friendly because you can actually get to the hands of the customer the fastest. And the most costly would be direct mail, and it would take the longest because the inventory is actually stored in the home country in your warehouses. So in terms of logistics solutions, Cainiao actually offers 4 modes. So I'm going to just run down them real quick. One is the bonded warehouse, which is the least costly method and the most customer-friendly method. So brands will pre-ship the goods to Cainiao warehouse in one of the 6 Chinese cities. And once the customer places the orders, then they will ship it to the hands of the customers. We write 7 days here, but usually it takes 2 to 3 days to deliver to the customer. And then the second method is the Global Fulfillment Center, which we call GFC, which is located outside of China, whether it's in Hong Kong, Australia, US. So you would pick and pack the goods and ship it to these GFCs for storage. And once the order is dropped from the customers, then the GFC will actually be responsible shipping the goods to the customers. And the third option is consolidated shipping. This is where the goods are stored in your own warehouses and the brands pack, label, and ship the goods to the Cainiao warehouses outside of China after the customer places an order. And this typically takes a bit longer. We're looking at about 14 days. And the last method is direct mail, where brands ship it directly to the customers. This is not recommended because we can't guarantee delivery times to customers, and customers usually don't like unguaranteed delivery times. And we have a Idaho case study here for a brand that's coming directly from Idaho. It's actually based out of Eagle, Idaho. The store opened with us on September 2018 through a TP. The store currently has about 20 SKUs, and the store is expecting to be exceeding $10 million of R&D this year. The 2 billboards I have up, one is for the 618 promotion, which is another Chinese retail holiday, and then the billboard to the right is what they actually ran for the Double 11 promotion. And here, once again, we have the links to the merchant channel, which is merchant.tmall.hk, and we also have our North American team here listed out by category. Once again, my name is Jack Lee. I handle the pet category. Fiona, who handle food and home, as well as Michelle, who handle baby, is on my team. And Nicole heads up our business development for the Canada office. You can scan that QR code to get in touch with me via Ding Ding. Also, my email is listed below. That's it for the presentation. Thank you guys for attending. I'm looking forward to answering some of your questions.
That's fantastic, Jack. Thank you so much. We actually, everybody, we're kind of moving on to the Q&A, and we've had quite a few come through. Mark, it looks like your presentation might still be up. I'm going to have you drop that down, and so all of our attendees can see everybody's faces better instead of in these tiny boxes, hopefully, if you're able to get that down. If not, not a huge deal. But I'm going to go ahead and get started on the questions. Oh, there we go. Thanks, Mark. Let me scroll through the chat here. We thought all of our attendees could see all of the chat, but apparently you can't message to everybody. So luckily you've been sending your questions to the presenters and or the host. So that worked out. If anybody else has some follow-up questions as we start talking, feel free to just send them in the chat to the let's see, do it to all panelists. That would probably be the best, and in that way we can all of us panelists can see your questions. But let's start. So question to Jack: how do companies achieve CBEC positive classification?
Oh, that's a very good question. So you don't really achieve it through us. That's us. So CBEC classification is something that the Chinese government actually distinguished. So that's not through us. So it's just a list of items that can go cross-border. There are certain items you cannot. For example, anything that relates with drugs or marijuana, what the Chinese government classifies as drugs, cannot go cross-border.
Okay, and so that's where, Tara, I don't know if you want to speak up or not, at all or not, but this is where, our local offices and then Tara's office can help hook you up with all the resources you need prior to getting to that stage with Tmall Global. So just keep that in mind. Let me just scroll up here. So yes, we will have. The question is, will we have access to the recording of the presentations? Absolutely. We're going to download the actual recording and send all of our attendees that link, and then also all of the individual presentations themselves. So that will be coming in the next few days, just once the system allows me to download them. Let me scroll up here. Bear with me. It's a small little box, and there's lots of questions, which is really exciting because that just proves how exciting this is for everybody. Looks like this is for Jack. Do we need to have an in-country representative to be successful on Tmall Global, or would it be more helpful?
I think it would be more helpful, but not necessarily necessary for the success of a brand, mainly because when you enter the China market, we strongly recommend you work with a TP or trade partner. So they do have the local knowledge to help you be successful in China. And we have many examples of that, where the brands don't have anyone in China, but through the right TP, they're able to find success in China.
So I think this person actually thought that knew what your answer was going to be. So how do you find? How does an Idaho brand find a trade partner to work with? Are they specialized by category, or do we go through certain people?
Excellent question. So I'll start with the second part of the question. TPs do specialize by category. So mainly because different industry involve different knowledge. So for example, TP could be successful in the beauty industry, might not find similar success in the pets industry because they're very different categories. But going back to your first question of how do we find TP, there are three ways that I could think of on top of my head that could help the situation. One is by going to merchant.tmall.hk, our merchant channel that was listed on my PowerPoint. That will have all the resources, and I believe it's the second box on the top left corner. It will have a Tmall partner button that you could click on, and you can actually select TP, and it'll have the TP resources there for you to find. The second way is get in touch with one of us, and we could actually, because we're separated by categories as well, we know which TP has success within our categories in the past. We're not allowed to recommend certain TP saying that you have to work with them, but we can give you a list of TPs that have been pretty good in our category and for you to actually have offline chats with. And the third way is to find TPs by yourself. You can Google or use Baidu. All these search engines will help.
So the TPs that you have on your internal list, have they been vetted by Tmall Global, or is that still a process that our Idaho companies would go through with Tara first, or are we already pretty certain that those are really great companies to work with?
They have been vetted. There's actually a star rating by Alibaba, I guess, internal team that does the TP ranking. So you can actually 5-star being the best, 1-star being the worst.
Fantastic. Next question. How do consumers view Tmall Global versus just Tmall? From a consumer side, is there any difference? Or is it just a back-end structure that helps to separate the two, established versus new to market?
So in terms of consumer, we try to, distinguish the two internally first. One is by offering international and one is more domestic. But in terms of consumer behavior, if they're shopping using the Alibaba app or the Taobao app, they can actually get everything through the search bar, but they could also go into individual. So I guess it's separated, but it's not that separated, to answer your question.
Gotcha. Also, how are B2B companies using Tmall Global, or are they?
So Tmall Global is predominantly B2C. So B2B, we do have Alibaba.com. We also have an office that's currently situated in New York that could help you with that.
Okay. Let me scroll down a little bit more. This one's for Melissa and or Mark. Can your organizations help with cost analysis of e-commerce platforms and identify strategies for U.S. companies in terms of cost?
Mark, do you want me to take this? I guess I'll take a stab at it.
Yes, there.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mark.
Well, there will be some variation, I think, in how you respond to this, and if there's anything to add, I'll happily join in.
Yeah, sure. We generally don't delve into the specifics of negotiating costs and whatnot. Our primary role would be to make introductions, so we can provide you with general kind of off-the-shelf information, such as the information that Jack gave you on what the cost would be of working with a platform like Tmall or JD. We can certainly give you a general idea through our counseling. We can make an introduction then to these platforms so you can have further discussions on, what type of how you want to work with the platforms and more specifics on the cost. So I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Mark, for how you company.
I would just say that we do a lot of research projects, studying the market from a number of angles. Probably wouldn't go deep into the specific case of one company, so similar to Melissa's answer, but I would refer you to gain.fas.usda.gov. That's GAIN. That's our Global Agricultural Information Network. That's the GAIN acronym. That's a place where we publish all reports from all over the world all the time, and there will be ones that focus on e-commerce. There will be ones that focus on various product groups, commodity groups, and a lot of things coming out of China on a weekly basis. And those are a great resource. They're public, they're free, and so by all means, take a look at that for a lot of information. But yeah, I mean, specifically your specific case and some of those cost analyses and things like that. That's like Melissa, our office would be happy to see who we know and if we can introduce you to the right partners for that.
All right. Thank you, Chelsea. I mean, Chelsea. I'm looking at Chelsea's on screen. Hi, Chelsea. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Melissa. So this is mostly, looks like for Jack and maybe a little bit Mark. How is perishable foods handled?
Or should I?
Oh, I will just say that in terms of perishable foods, it just depends on what it is. Are you talking if it is a packaged good and we're talking about a shelf life of a number of months, then those are things that you need to work out with people on the other side. Now, if you're doing cross-border e-commerce, then that might save you some of that headache, but you still want to be very careful in terms of what might happen to your reputation and people's interest in buying your product if you're not clear about that in terms of how you localize your website and how you sell, if you're doing cross-border e-commerce. If you're working with partners in Japan, trading partners, importers, distributors, then you need them to help you navigate that regulatory environment. If you're talking about really perishable, every summer there are a lot of cherries that come into China from the United States, and they come in by air, and because that's the only way they're going to be able to get here in time. Cold chain is very highly evolved now in China. It's come a long way, even within the last 10 years or so. So just making sure that you're dealing with the right partners in terms of logistics, in terms of importing. Experienced importers in China, if they're dealing with cold chain products, they're going to know what they're doing on that. But valid questions. Sometimes you will have transit time that is going to eat up some amount of the clock.
So from a Tmall Global side, we don't deal with super perishable items right now because we don't have the means to do so from a cross-border perspective. As you could tell by the transit time, sometimes it takes up to 14 days. So a lot of that will cause the items to actually be damaged and be no good for the end consumers. So right now, we do handle food that are not super perishable. So we're talking about nuts, dried fruit, and chocolates to a certain extent. So stuff like that.
The next question I have, it looks like it's probably for Jack too. How are the different models you mentioned integrated? So I think that's for pulling back a little bit in your presentation.
Sure. So the four models I mentioned are very distinct models. There are no right or wrong solutions. It just depends on what your brand needs are. And we have successful cases across all four of them. They're integrated all in one in our platform. So that's the only way they're integrated. So you get access to 100% of our consumers. But they're actually very distinct models that you should think about before your brand onboards with us.
What is the benefit of Tmall Global versus JD.com? What distinguishes them, and where are differing strengths and weaknesses?
So I can't speak too much about JD because, I never worked for them in the past. But I could speak for Tmall Global and Kaola, which I worked for, which is now part of Alibaba. So Kaola and Tmall Global used to be the largest, the one and two in terms of cross-border e-commerce. Now they're slightly different in that Kaola is mainly a wholesale model, whereas Tmall Global is more of a consignment and marketplace model. So think of eBay versus Amazon kind of deal in the U.S. So Amazon will buy in the goods, and eBay will be basically sellers selling the goods just using the platform. Although Amazon has since developed their own marketplace model, but that's the main difference right now. So Tmall Global is predominantly marketplace, whereas Kaola is more procurement of the goods and then selling it, the wholesale model.
Okay, and then actually this is just a comment from Michael from the Alibaba team. He said, as a follow-up, we can connect any Idaho B2B companies interested in being connected with Alibaba.com's New York team. So just to throw that out there. And then there's another question regarding the STEP grants. Says the costs that Jack identified, can they be covered by STEP grants? So that is the SBA with our COVID crisis has taken a really long, harder look at the eligible expenses under the STEP grant program. And now all of these things are now becoming allowable under the STEP grant. So it's a really, really silver lining to all that has happened is luckily we have some new expenses that we can apply to the STEP grant. And like I said, be watching later this week for more information to come out about our applications that are opening December 2nd. That looks to be all of our questions. Wow, look at this. We have 3 minutes to spare. This was excellent, everybody. Really excited about all the presentations you made. Any attendees, if you have further questions, again, I'll be sending everything out, but you can certainly, I'm going to share my screen again real quick and just get you Chelsea and I's contact information up on screen so we can kind of be your first line of communication, and we can hook you up to any of these fabulous presenters. But again, you're more than welcome to reach out to them directly. Does anybody else have any final comments?
Hey, Tina, so one final comment. I think I saw a question on THC. So THC products are eligible to be sold via cross-border e-commerce. We recently actually had a brand live on there, such as Uncle Bud's, which is, I guess, endorsed by celebrity Magic Johnson. So that answers the question, but it has to be free of THC products if it's used for ingestion.
Perfect. Thank you. I'm glad that you caught that. I missed that, wherever that was. So perfect. All right, everybody. Well, thank you again for joining us today. This was fantastic. And this is only the beginning of these discussions. This is all kind of new programming that we're all learning about and getting educated on. So again, to our attendees, thanks for joining, and we will continue to move forward with these presenters and hopefully bring more information to our fabulous Idaho companies. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.